On a warm Sunday afternoon in June 2011, 36-year-old Marie Joseph climbed into the Lafayette Park Veterans Memorial Swimming Pool in Fall River, Massachusetts. Joseph, a Haitian immigrant living in Rhode Island and a mother of 5, was spending time with friends and a neighbor's 9-year-old boy in the deep end. The pool at Lafayette Park was a public facility, 12 feet at its deepest end, accessed by a steep slide that plunged into murky water. The atmosphere was typical of a summer day at a community pool, families and children splashing under a bright sun. But beneath the surface, tragedy was about to unfold in silence. Marie slid down the tall slide just after a young child. Video evidence later showed that she landed on top of him and immediately submerged to the bottom of the pool. A child on the raft realized something was wrong. Marie did not resurface after hitting the water. Terrified, the boy ran to the lifeguards, pleading that a woman had drowned, but at least one guard reportedly brushed him off, saying she was on a break. No rescue attempt was made. In the pool below, Marie drifted unseen. The water was heavily chlorinated and cloudy, making visibility extremely poor. Over the next 2 days, the pool remained open. Children played and splashed, unaware that a body lay at the bottom. It was not until late Tuesday night that Marie Joseph's body finally floated to the surface. A group of teenagers sneaking into the park for a midnight swim discovered her beneath the waves. By then, about 48 hours had passed since she vanished. Pool employees closed the facility in shock. Lifeguards and park managers were immediately pulled aside. Investigators from the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation and the local district attorney's office arrived to comb through what had happened. In official statements, the investigators concluded that Marie Joseph's death was ruled accidental drowning, but they stressed it was preventable. Experts noted that had the water been clearer or an extra guard present, lifeguards likely would have spotted Marie on the bottom within seconds and pulled her out alive. Instead, Marie passed unnoticed, and only when swimmers splashed over her did her body rise to meet the sky. Welcome back to the Sky Opened a True Crime YouTube channel, where we dive deep in lesser-known cases. If you like what you see here, please subscribe, leave a like, and comment below what you thought about these cases. Nearly a decade earlier, on a spring evening in March 1999, another summer attraction turned deadly. Valeria Cartwright was a 28-year-old mother from West Helena, Arkansas, spending the weekend at Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington. She was at the park with her parents, Jerry and Valerie Cartwright, and her 4-year-old daughter, Dana. A family outing they hoped would be fun and memorable. On March 21st, as the sun set over the water park section, known then as Whitewater Kingdom, Valeria and a group of about a dozen friends decided to ride Roaring Rapids, a circular raft ride meant to simulate whitewater rapids. The ride featured 6 passengers per inner tube raft, each secured with a lap belt. The setting was festive. The ride carried smiling guests in round inner tubes down a fast, twisting course filled with splashing waves and sharp turns. On this warm evening, groups were queued for a thrill before closing time. Valeria boarded one raft with 5 others. For reasons never fully clarified, that raft suddenly began taking on water. Perhaps the rubber flotation chambers underneath the raft had ruptured. Investigators later found that components called bladders, designed to keep the raft buoyant, had abruptly deflated. Water rushed in. The raft sank lower in the shallow rapids, scraped along the artificial river bottom, and then got pinned on a low underwater cable, or pipe, designed to hold part of the ride structure in place. When the raft caught on that obstacle, the current's force flipped it over. Instant chaos ensued. 10 of the passengers were thrown into 2 to 3 feet of water. Most managed to shed their seatbelts and scramble to safety on their own. Valeria did not. She remained strapped into her raft as it capsized. With her body pinned beneath the overturned craft, the swirling current held her there. Fellow riders pulled at her belt, but they could not loosen it in time. Valeria Cartwright, a young mother with her whole life ahead, drowned in just a few minutes. She never emerged from under that overturned raft. Eventually, rescue teams waded in and lifted the canopy off, finding Valeria unconscious and not breathing. By then, it was too late. Attempts to revive her failed. At the hospital, her death was pronounced. The cause ruled accidental drowning by the county coroner. No incident tested the bounds of summer thrills like the tragedy at Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City, Kansas, in 2016. That year, the park had just unveiled Verrückt, a waterslide billed as the world's tallest. Perched beside an indoor water park, Verrückt rose 168 feet, 17 stories, with multiple dips before a final splashdown. It was a showpiece attraction. Chains of spectators would watch daredevils climb towering steps and then whoosh down in a 4-person raft, often with a camera mounted on the rider's head. The slide's name was German for insane, and many riders and engineers alike soon began to wonder if it was a promise of glory or a death sentence. On the afternoon of August 7, 2016, 10-year-old Caleb Schwab from nearby Overland Park climbed aboard Verrückt's launch platform with 2 older girls, aged 10 and 13, and an adult park employee as riders. Caleb was a 5th grader known for a quick grin and energetic play. His father, Scott Schwab, was a Kansas state representative, so the family had been given free tickets to a park event. Parents stood nearby, cheering as each raft pushed off. Caleb and the girls loaded a double-seater raft with a crew member. They clicked their PVC-lined belt around their waists, waved, and slid down. A few moments later, it was over. The raft plunged down the final hill and hammered into the basin end at the bottom. A metal support pole for a safety net cage pierced through the overhead netting and cut into Caleb's raft from above. Those 2 older girls in his raft suffered awful injuries, one with a broken neck and face fractures, but both eventually survived. Caleb was much more severely hurt. He had suffered catastrophic trauma to his neck and head. By the time emergency responders reached him in the water below, his condition was already beyond saving. The young boy who had boarded Verrückt with laughter was pronounced dead at the hospital that evening. He was 10 years old. Immediately, grief turned to disbelief and anger. Schlitterbahn had advertised the slide as rigorously tested, yet footage later emerged showing test runs where sandbag weights sent rafts flying off the top of the slide during development. Internal memos found later showed engineers had disassembled a portion of the first hill mid-season to make it flatter after hearing of those airborne tests. But even then, with those fixes in place, something had gone fatally wrong for Caleb. The coroner's report noted that he died of a neck injury and drowning. Technically, one might classify it as a freak accident in an extreme ride. But to anyone who knew Caleb, it was an unfathomable loss that should never have happened. More than 40 years ago, A young man died while sliding down a mountain in New Jersey. Not snow, but water on concrete. On the evening of July 8, 1980, 19-year-old George Larsson Jr. went to Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey, a new and wildly popular amusement park. Known for its adrenaline rides, George had just gotten off work as a ski lift operator at the nearby Vernon Valley ski area, and impetuously decided to join some friends at Action Park. He was athletic, enjoying sports and daredevil fun. That summer night, he would not come home. Action Park's Alpine slide was an outdoor track built into a hillside. Visitors rode small fiberglass sled cars, letting gravity whisk them down 2,700 feet of concrete trough. Each car had a hand-controlled brake lever, the only thing preventing a rider from shooting off the track at high speed. The track bent and swooped down the mountain, sometimes banked, often straight, with occasional low brick walls on the sides. It was fast and somewhat treacherous even in good light. But on this night, it was growing dark and a humid summer rain had begun to fall. George paid his entrance fee and climbed into a sled. He did not know that state inspectors were already concerned about this ride. In the months before, accidents had been accumulating. An inspector had noted crumbling rocks and slick algae on the slide path. Yet it remained in service. Witnesses later said that George's sled accelerated quickly. Perhaps the brake lever did not hold properly in the wet. At the end of the run, which lacked any auto stop, his car shot off the end of the concrete track. George was thrown into the bushes below. His head and helmet hit large boulders that had been scattered at the base as decoration. He suffered grave head injuries. 2 park employees who knew him rushed him to first aid, and an ambulance took him to the hospital where he died. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe so you're always dialed in cases. Also, leave a comment down below what you thought about the case.